So our theme for this new initiative, and it's really not a new initiative, but certainly it's a build-on of what we've done in the past. You know, many of you remember when I first got here some 2.5 years ago, we talked about Operation Restore Order. We still do that. But one of the things that was very different about Operation Restore Order, it was kind of single focus in that it was the police coming into neighborhoods that needed to be safe, and it was primarily the police, large number of police doing that. As we've evolved and as we've built relationships, trust-based relationships in our communities, that has changed. And so when we look at today, especially when we talk about the death of a 6-month-old murdered as she sat in a stroller, when we talk about a 3-year-old who was robbed of the opportunity to pursue her life's ambitions, and then a 4-year-old who will forever be afflicted by the memory of tragic circumstances of senseless violence that unfolded before her eyes. So I've always said one loss, regardless of age, is just one too many. However, I cannot sit here, I cannot stand here and talk to you without demonstrating a sense of outrage. And I'm not just speaking for the Detroit Police Department, but I believe I speak for the community at large. Criminals be warned. The Detroit Police Department has sworn to be indebted to the fight against crime. Be assured that we are about the business of taking back our neighborhoods. So, for the individuals who are inclined to participate in crime and parade around the community, displaying a clear disregard for children while committing atrocities, your season is over. What this is about, single-fold. Taking back neighborhoods, one neighborhood at a time. Taking back neighborhoods, one neighborhood at a time. So after lots of conversations with our community stakeholders, my staff, we've come up with a 3-tier approach. It's much more robust. It's something I'm very familiar with. And first and foremost, it works. And I mean, it works. I've seen this work in both the cities of Los Angeles and Cincinnati, where violence was totally eradicated. But the key component is a willing community, a community that says, we are partnering with you, police department, and together we're going to get this done. So when we talk about enforcement, what we did is we looked at, in recent, where we have in the spike in violence. Based on our data, our statistical data, the 8th precinct has been chosen to be our first place that we're going to take back a neighborhood. I'm not going to go into a lot of details of the enforcement, just like we did with Operation Restore Order. Criminals, beware. We're going to be there. The key to this, though, this is a collaborative approach. This is not just the police department. As you've heard me say, a police department, regardless of city, cannot be on every block, every corner, 24 hours a day. But what we do know, those neighborhoods that flourish are those that have active, willing community members, stakeholders, that join the fight in making their neighborhoods safe. So community is key. So when we talk about some of the initiatives or strategies that we've engaged in the past, I've been recently somewhat vocal over marches, peace marches. And while well-intentioned, and while for the 5 minutes that we're marching, community members bringing awareness to the violence, candidly, they do not work. I'll say it again, they do not work. They're good for television, 5 minutes of reassurance, and as it was pointed out last week, it was on that Saturday afternoon where I spoke to a group of about 200 to 300, Victims Week, and it was during that very moment that this baby was killed in the front lawn while she was there with other children. It does not work. But what we're talking about today, we'll leave you with this. We're going to make a difference. So to do that Many of the folks that we're working with are not strangers to being part of the solution and not part of the problem. Certainly we have with us today Detroit 300, who are going to be on the ground as part of this strategy. We have Crime Reduction Team, or CRT, that will be talked about momentarily. Certainly our neighborhood police officers, our churches, Detroit Police Reserves, and neighborhood watch programs. Certainly Pastor Mo and LIP, you will hear from him shortly. So when we talk about community, that's the second tier. So you have enforcement, traditional enforcement, strategically, in a very precise way, looking for those who are creating the problems in the neighborhoods. Then we have community. And when we talk about community, we talk about empowerment. See, community empowerment is really the glue that holds all this together. So we are going to be about the business of providing the kind of leadership that will empower community members to come out, get involved, start neighborhood watch groups, whether it's through radio patrol or just walking and soliciting their neighbors to join in this effort. And then lastly, and equally as important, is street advocacy. As I pointed out, I'm not going to go into that because Pastor Mo is going to talk about that. And before we take questions, I'm going to turn it over to our partners. And I would ask that Pastor Maurice Harder, LIP, come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Chief Craig. I'm Pastor Maurice L. Hardwick, founding pastor of the Body Believers Outreach Ministry and founding leader of the LIP Live in Peace movement. We are in total outrage, totally fed up with what is happening in our neighborhoods with our young people. We have fought this fight. We did marches, I do several funerals. I get called to all the prayer visuals. I'm doing visuals at night y'all don't even hear about. On the street on the east side, 300 kids call me out my bed 12 at night, and we're out there praying, doing the visual. So I've been out here, but it's too much RIP. And that's why we bringing in the Live in Peace to do a protest against the RIP. We in congruent with the whole force of the city, every organization, to make a statement to Detroit. You cannot shoot this city up. You cannot kill our babies and get away with it. We asking you to stand down. As a pastor who come from these streets, I'm asking the young men, you know who you are. Brothers, you're better than this. You're better than this. You don't have to do this. Settle your dispute calmly with non-conflict. No conflict. We're asking you to settle your dispute with no conflict. You can meet me anywhere. If you have a beef with somebody in this city, you can call me. I'll meet with both parties. And we're asking you to stop the shooting immediately. We cannot have another child shot with bullets through their body, and we stand around. So we're putting together a neighborhood. We're going to every neighborhood where there's any type of shooting at, and we coming in to talk, to deal with you before the police deal with you, because they got plans to deal with you. I'm trying to bring peace and be a bridge to help you. Take my hand. Take my hand, young man. I will help you. Now, we also going to have a peace treaty. I'm putting it out today across the city. It's a peace treaty. I'll put it out. It's urging young urban Detroiters to take responsibility for themselves, for their community, for their family, to honor their elders, their family, to be productive in the schools. Do not make the DPS an embarrassment or a battleground. We're asking you to stand down and uplift yourself, because you are a part of this great city. I believe in you. I believe in you, but I do not believe in the lower part of you. You don't have to shoot kids up, period. I'm asking, I'm praying for you, and I'm here as a peace advocate. Take my hand. I want to help.
Thank you, Pastor Mo. I'm sorry. And next who we have is Reverend Darrell Harris, Total Life Christian Ministries.
Hello, my name is Bishop Darrell Harris. I'm the senior pastor of Total Life Christian Ministries. I'm also faith-based director for the Ceasefire program. One thing that I do have a deep passion about, and that is belief. I believe that every accomplishment that the human nature has ever accomplished started with its belief. I believe today that what's going to make the difference in this approach that we're using is the synergy, the coming together, the unification of different community bodies, different community organizations. And for the first time, I feel really hopeful because I feel like instead of the police or us partnering with what the police are doing, it appears to me that what Chief Craig is really pushing forward is that they want to partner with us. It's our communities. It's our streets. This is the place where we live. Little Anaya cannot happen again. Little Miracle cannot happen again. These are incidences that are unacceptable. And I believe that it is time for the community to stand up together, unified. Pastor Mo, myself, others who are out there doing the work, but where we've been failing is that we've been doing the work in our own silos. I think that now, Little Anaya, Little Miracle, they are causing us to come together and recognize we need to be a group. We need to be a team. Together, each accomplishes more. And I leave you with this quote today. It is a quote that I heard that's very similar to what was said by Albert Einstein. And it is something like this. If evil and violence happens to take over our world, it will not be because of the evildoer. It will be because of those of us who sat by and did nothing. I'm asking everyone today, please join us together in this unification, in this fight. Pastors are coming together all over the city of Detroit because this is enough, and enough is enough. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. So, as you've heard, this is a new response. This is certainly a turning point, a pivotal point in how we abate violence. I'm not saying to you that I think. I know that we're going to make a difference. And so as we open it up for questions, we want to talk about sustaining it, because there is an issue of sustainability. But as I take questions, I would ask that Commander Pritchett, where we're launching, to stand with us. I'm not going to put you on the spot. And Deputy Chief Fitzgerald, who leads the neighborhood policing on the west side, please join as well. So at this point, any questions that you might have?
I know you can't detail too much exactly how it's going to work, but we did hear Pastor Mo saying, call me. I mean, is that the response? Are we supposed to send out, phone numbers for folks who are in the midst of, a real mediation problem and about to pick up a gun instead of talking it out? How do we get the word out?
So collaborative, 3 tiers. You have enforcement, you have community, and the community component, the most powerful, because our neighborhood police officers, our community stakeholders, as I talked about in our remarks, will be on the ground in the neighborhood that we've identified. Again, we're not going to go in details where it's in the 8th precinct. I did reach out to Reverend Wendell Anthony, whose church sits in the area that we're focusing on. He's certainly committed to this effort, is willing to open his church up so that as we begin to educate the community on this new direction, we have a place to do it. Again, it's about empowerment, and that's what's lacking in many of our neighborhoods. I don't care, you name a neighborhood that's been stricken by violence. It's usually because the community has given up, not in every case, but in most, because they feel they're not empowered to take their neighborhoods back. So we as police, we get to provide the leadership, we get to hold hands, we get to give direction, we get to work closely with our partners. That's how it gets done. And while it might seem Pollyanna, this is the real deal. It does work. And when you see, and one thing that I have always applauded about Detroit is just the willingness of all the stakeholders to come forth when necessary. Again, we will no longer be desensitized by the violence that's been historic in this city.
Do you believe at this time that these kids, these victims, do you believe that they are being targeted in retaliation for something, like these guys are going after these kids first?
Here's what I believe based on the investigation. I believe that the suspects, in every one of them, including the one that was inside of the house, that the suspects knew or should have known that when they used a weapon, when they used a gun, they were putting children in harm's way. They took their time, they planned, they were strategic, and they knew they were placing children in harm's way.
What are the average ages of these suspects? Do you have an idea?
Statistically, we find anywhere between the age of 16 and 24 years. Certainly for mostly African American, both suspects and victims, and they're male.
So you got kids killing kids.
In some instances, yes. Any other questions?
Why the 8th, Chief, first?
Again, as I pointed out earlier in my remarks, is that the 8th was selected. It's no secret that we've seen an uptick in violence on the west side of town. And while I've been assured by the deputy chief that's not the case, he's committed, certainly Commander Pritchett, both are committed to really eradicating the violence. And so this is based on statistics. Now, one thing I didn't say, that as we collectively, in a collaborative way, go into taking back neighborhoods, we're starting out in 2 scout car areas in the 8th precinct. Once our work is somewhat completed, we're going to move to another area. But we're not going to let the 8th precinct in those 2 scout cars go. We're going to sustain it, but sustaining it means that the community absolutely has to step up and get involved. We, the police, cannot do it alone. Our community partners can't do it alone. And so the people who live in these areas are going to have to be willing participants.
Appreciating you can't go in detail, but when you talk about broader-based events not having staying power or effectiveness, can you at least take us a layer deeper on what you're planning on doing and setting in a neighborhood for an extended period of time and having smaller community forums with neighbors, or what are you doing, if you can share at all?
Well, again, I talked about Neighborhood Watch. And certainly we can have another forum where I can go into a little more of a deeper dive. We're in a press conference, but one of the issues that works, and I don't care, name a neighborhood in the United States, is one where there's an active and robust neighborhood watch group. As simple as it might sound, those create safe neighborhoods. Certainly we have Radio Patrol, who just do great work and have for some time here in Detroit. We want to take a look at what's going on in these 2 scout car areas. And if they don't have a radio patrol, we're going to bring radio patrols in from other precincts or scout car areas that can support these two areas that we're focusing in on, in hopes to get a radio patrol started. We're going to bring our Detroit Police Reserves in, who have been great volunteers over the years, but we haven't really used them very effectively. They want to be involved in a solution. They want to be in the neighborhoods. And so we're going to bring them in as, again, a layer of visibility. This is about creating and deterring crime, and we know with our community partners, uniformed police officers, certainly that's going to deter it. But when we leave, we're not going to be far away, because our community partners, our community, are going to be there, and they're going to work very closely with us.
Chief, is anyone in custody yet on Baby Miracles?
Not yet. We're still asking for the public's help. As you know, we put out a sketch, and so we're still waiting. We know that the streets know, and the streets need to talk. And I'm talking about the good people who live in neighborhoods. They need to talk to us. It's happened before. It's not by accident we put pictures out and people call us. They do call us. But we need your help in solving this crime.
And certainly most recently on Saturday with the death of a 24-year-old man and his child being there right in front of him. Can you tell us anything about that, where you are with that investigation?
Very early still, nothing new to report. Certainly we believe that the suspects certainly intended, in some respects, to shoot this child. I mean, the child was visible out riding a bike. The child got shot. The father was executed, basically. And so to say I didn't know that child was there was certainly not the case. Each of these incidents, the suspect knew or should have known that a child was present.
What kind of guns were they using in this one over weekend?
AK, assault weapon. Yes. Anything else before we move on to the next? So I will tell you, a lot of excitement around this. I had about a 3 to 4 hour meeting with my staff this morning on next steps. And my sense was that a lot of optimism and courage, certainly our community members on the phone all of this weekend, talking about some things that we could do differently. Very excited about Pastor Mo's peace treaty, a one of its kind, if you will. You know, we talk about peace treaties and conflicts with countries, but to have an urban peace treaty, I got to believe that that's going to make a difference, because part of that commitment that these young people will make certainly is a commitment to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. And in turn, we're going to do everything we can to assist them in making better decisions going forward.
Can I say something, Chief?
Sure.
Yes, my name is Brenda Hill.
You want to
and
come
I'm-
up to the...
Yes. Yes. My name is Brenda Hill, and I'm with Mothers of Murdered Children and the Crime Stoppers Community Response Team. And just like the Chief said, and I am the face of a victim of violence in Detroit. And I'm reaching out to all of the others that are like me to come forward and stop this. When I hear of a child, a baby, being shot down on the streets of Detroit, outrage is not the word. My heart is broken. And we've got 3 babies since, 2 dead since Easter. And so everybody in this community is feeling the grief. Some of us have felt this grief before. We must stop this, and we're going to stop this. We're not going to sit in our grief. We're going to change the atmosphere. We're going to change this course of history. We're going to stop this. This will no longer happen, that we wake up every morning. And it's just okay. It is unacceptable. Everybody in this room and those in the sound of my voice, please join us. It won't stop with the police. It has to stop with us. This is outrageous. No more mothers have to be standing where I'm standing if we come together. Thank you. Yes.
So, and then, before we transition, criminals beware. It's not just the police any longer, but it's a community, as I've said, it's fed up, and we are marching together to eradicate violence from our neighborhoods. So again, taking back neighborhoods, one neighborhood at a time.
I've heard the word progressive used for this approach, but would you call it an aggressive approach as well? Getting everybody involved?
It's aggressive in the sense that certainly it's proactive, not reactive. Marches are reactive. It's aggressive in the sense that we're all in alignment. This is not a passive response. This is a community. This is the community. This is the Detroit neighborhood. And it's only going to grow from this. So if individuals can make better decisions, say not here, we see what's happening in green light locations. Individuals who want to engage in violence are making different decisions. Not here, not now. And this is only the beginning. This is going to grow. This is the first step. Holistic, robust, and let's call it aggressive. But it also has a lot of passion attached to it.